A blessed afternoon, and welcome to radio. The program this afternoon is Minkondzo, Tinghwazi, The Legacy, with me, Pastor Strike. I just want to take this time and welcome you all, my wonderful viewers and listeners. And it's really a wonderful afternoon, but I just want to take this time and welcome you all, those of you who are listening from Bold Moves Radio, and those of you that are following us on Facebook, also on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming through. It is that we come together on Minkondzo Legacy, and just want to welcome you all and appreciate you all for coming through. And I must say, in this program, we take time to celebrate the lives of men and women for who they are, for what they do, for their contribution in the nation, for their contribution in different spheres of life. And that's what we're doing exactly. In fact, this program, we endeavor to give our guests their flowers while they can still smell them. Many a time when we talk of people and talk of their contribution in our lives and in our nation, we do it well on a memorial service when they are no more. And how I wish that we tell them while they are still alive, so that they are able to know the feedback. Feedback is very, very much important. So the program Minkondzo Tinghwazi, The Legacy, does exactly that. It's a program that is quite a number of years. I think it is more than 18 years, because I did this program on my satellite television channel, Mana TV, from 2006. And then I did the program again with the SABC, Munganalonene Radio. And when I left, unfortunately, they could not run with it. And then I felt, I love this program. I love what it stands for. So I stayed. Now it's on Bold Moves Radio. Minkondzo Tinghwazi, The Legacy. In Chivenda, the Roma Jakandira, and it is all about celebrating people, celebrating their contribution, and taking a journey with their lives and learning from their journey. And today, we have yet another guest that I respect, and I'm so grateful that he's with us, and that is Mr. Mulaudzi. And I must be honest, this is a man that is multitasking. He's a multitasking type of a man. He just wrote a book, The Power of the Tongue, which was published by Mange publishers in 2020. It's from my province, Chilrata village, right in the Venda region, here in the province of Limpopo in South Africa. And now he lives in Ellens Park in Johannesburg with his family. And he is affectionately known as Mr. Stan, and he has educational and training show on VMC Planet Radio with a passion for education and training. He covers a variety of learning approaches, including online learning, blended learning, and traditional learning. In 2022, he earned his master in education at the University of Johannesburg. Just to say about a few, his studies includes human resources management, project management, education training and development practices, and electrical engineering. That's why I say he's a multitasker. And over the course of his career, he has worked in the railway environment for 25 years and has experience in operations management and training. Hey, this is just a little bit of what I can tell you about this great man, but isitsonga here ayinhlolo anibabalabuleli bako okwala, and that is why I would love to take this time and welcome Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Minkondzo Tinghwazi, The Legacy.
Good evening to you too. When you were reading what you were reading, and you were also talking about me, for a second I thought you were talking about somebody else. But anyway,
when we give you feedback of exactly who you are, many a time you are, is it me? Why? Because it's when we live our lives, we're not necessarily looking for applause, looking for recognition, but we just live out our dreams. We just, journey in life as much as we can. But, it's important. A program like Minkondzo, the Legacy, says, hey, Mr. Stan, would you stop and let us tell you a little bit about yourself and allow you to tell us about yourself? We always say, if we don't write our stories, then people will write our stories, and we must not be surprised when our stories are distorted. But when we talk about Mr. Stan Mboneni Mulaudzi, who are we talking about?
That's a very, very interesting question.
Hmm.
I was this question, I think, when I was interviewed at Parapara FM,
Hmm.
and I had to search deep, and
Hmm.
I realized that sometimes when people ask you, "Who are you?"
Hmm.
you then um, think a little bit back, and
Hmm.
you fast forward to where you are at the current moment. And
Hmm.
the interesting thing is that you end up, also finding out who you are by actually telling people who you are. But in short, yes, I was born in a village called Chirata, under the district
Hmm.
of Vuani. And
Hmm.
where I grew up, we went to school. I went to a primary school called Ngokuru Primary School. I ended up at a secondary school called Dabanan Secondary School. So, and we originally come from Chimbufe. So that's why
Oh, yeah.
in most of the time, when somebody asks me who I am, I start by saying, Ndifimboneni Mulaudzi, ndiwachelata hamuchongo, ndiwachibufe cha mpakazera cha mkwaina msuku, ndari varaudzi ari na thava zashu ndi madama wasidzana. So those ndi chiano chinera vari chiko ana chona. But then academically, I went to college called Johannesburg Technical College. I studied electrical engineering. I
Okay.
then in 1997 found a job at Spornet, where I actually worked as a train assistant. After that,
Hmm.
I became a train driver at Spornet, but then I moved to Metro Rail. So I drove trains up to 2005. I became a section manager. After that, I was also interested in also providing training. So I did what is called assessor and moderator training before I went on to do ETDP, which stands for Education Training and Development Practices. Now,
Hmm.
whilst I was the section manager, I then become a senior technical training officer. So I was in charge of training, railway personnel who are called safety critical grades. Your metro guards, your yard official, your train drivers, your train control officers as well. But then I also decided to further my studies. I studied, I had a diploma in ETDP, and then I
Hmm.
have a BTech in human resource management, but I was specializing mostly in ETDP, or education and development practices. Then I
Hmm.
went on to also do my master's degree. You just mentioned that I graduated last year. I was specializing in blended learning. So the study, or my dissertation, was based on improving, or the use of what do we call it? The use of blended learning to improve training in a workplace environment. So, in
Hmm.
short, those are, I don't know, that is the journey that I have traveled. Also, an author of a book called The Power of a Tongue. And
Hmm.
I've written another book, is also now being edited by Dr. Mabila Matebula. And then the book is
Hmm.
called Overcoming Life's Stop Signs. So,
Hmm.
and also during the time that I was in Praza. In fact, I'm still there.
Mm.
I used to write curriculum. I became a curriculum development person, and I'm also now a train operations manager. So basically, I think in short, that's how I will describe myself.
Lovely, lovely. Now, I just want us now to look back and growing up in Venda. Sometimes people believe your success in life would depends on where you come from, where you grew up. But you from my province, what instilled the appetite, number one, of success, number two, of education?
Very,
And
very.
and bachamba nga village in Ebavaone. That's a village in Venda, and it's not a township, it's not even a city in Venda, but it's a village. But hey, your appetite for success, your appetite for education, what sparked that? What provoked that in you?
First, I think it was born out of the idea that in every man's chest there's a heart. Every big man you see today was once a baby, and
Mm,
we are born with more or less equal opportunity. But as
mm,
we have families, we grow, we we then end up going to different families. You see people succeeding, you aspire to be there. You in fact, one of the most interesting thing is that when you are in a village, and
mm,
during the time that we grew up, some of us around the 80s and the 90s,
mm,
you only can be able to see what is around you, but then you
mm,
aspire to become greater than the people that are there. So
mm,
you will then benchmark how you want to do your thing according to who you're seeing at that particular time. But then we started to
mm,
get newspapers, we started getting magazine. Obviously, those magazines that you get will be maybe 3 months old magazine, or newspapers that are already expired. But then you start to see other people, and then you ask yourself, what is it that made them get where they are, and
mm,
how can you also better yourself and also better the community that you are coming from. So hence,
mm,
I decided I'm going to study electrical engineering. And it's a very interesting story because where I grew up, we only were able to have electricity in Cherata in 2010, just before the World Cup.
mm.
So, and the reason why I wanted to study electrical engineering, I thought maybe I will be that change that is actually needed in that environment.
Yes.
But little did I know that you see, you go into an environment, you want to change the environment, but ultimately it's the environment that actually changes you in most cases.
Yes.
So, but to be honest with you, I aspired to be things.
Mm,
Uh, when I saw an engineer, I wanted to be an engineer. I didn't want to become a teacher. I didn't want to become a soldier or a policeman. But I wanted to
mm.
become something that is different from what I've always been seeing from the people in my
Yes.
village, so that at least there can be a different profession
Mm,
from those that are there. So when I got a job and become a train driver, I was very excited because, around, okay, I did not know if there are other people who are, train drivers. I actually
mm.
followed a footstep of my father, because my father was also a train driver, one of the
Okay.
first black train drivers. So I
Oh,
felt
yeah.
that that was something that I can be able to achieve. If he was able to raise me up with the salary of a train driver or a person who
Mm,
was working the railway, So I felt that I will have a family and also be able to, raise my family just as good as he actually raised us.
That's interesting. And when you talk of that's so interesting also, because I was asking myself, Renech Dimmer, that's all. With the train,
Mm, mm, mm,
but thinking of one becoming a train driver, that's awesome. And I would love for you to tell us the experience. I think you're one of the trailblazers, even as you say, that came from Baba. But honestly speaking, I asked myself, was then how did he really get into being a train driver? And what experience? Sometimes when you look at a train, you don't even think that this thing has got a driver, the way it moves and the
mm.
way it is. And Abe, a train has been a mode of transport for us. And I remember the first time I came to Polokwane in a train. I
Mm.
even slept in the train. And far. And from Chitanani to Polokwane, it was so far. And I enjoyed everything, but Wagorenza, my apula and all that, it was just so wonderful. But let's talk about becoming a train driver. Yes, you said that, but what does it take? Where did you start? And what is the experience?
In fact, the experience is a very interesting one. And to
Mm,
know fully how you will feel, I think you have to be there to actually
mm,
explain it. But let me paint a picture,
mm,
so that we can begin to understand, and hopefully I will give you the experience that I had. Now,
mm,
you go to a class, but then again, you don't. In South Africa, we don't have universities,
mm,
um, colleges where you
mm,
can go on your own and study to become a train driver. But what normally happens is that you are employed and you start at the
mm.
bottom.
Oh,
You
yes.
become. I became a train assistant. Others will become, let's say, a metro guards. But let's start where I started. So I was a train assistant or a train driver's assistant. So I will assist the train driver with quite a number of things. And the experience you get there is that of you becoming very, very disciplined and also becoming clean. Now,
Oh, yes.
you go through what is called aptitude test. You pass the
Mm,
aptitude test. You go to a class. They teach you what is called the rules and regulation of a rail environment. We call them train working rules. You
mm,
study. You also obtain a diploma in that regard. So
mm,
after that, I went on to become a train driver. But perhaps when you are a train assistant, you are not driving train and you don't drive train when the train driver has been disabled. All you need to be able to do is to be able to stop the train so that the train can be safe. And there's nothing which is safer than a stationary train, because when it is moving, if it's a goods train or it's a freight train, it's got quite a number of goods, or if it's a commuter train or a passenger train, you have quite a number of lives that are behind you. So you should be able to stop that train, bring it to a standstill, so that everything and everyone can be safe on that particular train.
mm,
So what you do is that
mm,
as a train assistant, you clean the cab, you clean the window so that the train driver and yourself can be able to see uh, in front very well. But the interesting thing
mm,
about that aspect of being a train assistant is that you and the train driver, you repeat as the train is moving, you repeat, we call them signals, but maybe in your language you will say robots. So those
mm,
robots,
mm,
you've got green, you've got yellow, you've got red, and you've got white, but they all have a different meaning. So when it is green, we also know that when somebody says, I give you the green light, it means that you're getting a go ahead. Now, in
mm,
terms of a train environment, when you get a green light, it means you must move. When you get a yellow line, it means that you must be cautious and be ready to stop at the next signal because it's going to be red. And when it is yellow, when it is red, obviously you stop, and it becomes red because there might be an obstruction in front of you. So those are some of the rules that you learn. Then you become a train driver. So then you have got more responsibilities. But I will speak more about driving trains in the metro rail environment because there you are carrying quite a number of lives. The interesting thing about that environment is that during the time where we became train driver, we used to be respected, by commuters. You used to be respected by people. Now, as let's say you take a train, you go to Naledi station. That is where you turn around to go back to Joburg. As you walk around, you used to feel like somebody very important. You come with the train, everybody is sitting down. As you enter the platform, everybody stand up as if somebody is giving you a guard of honor. You go, you stop. When you come back, people are asking you where the train is going and all of those things. Those that are interested in becoming a train driver, they also ask you questions. So the train itself, people don't know that it's got wheels and it's got tires as well. But the tires are steel or iron tires as well. And there are a whole lot of other things that you learn. So as you're driving, you're following rules and procedures, guidelines and processes that guide you on how you drive trains. That's why we were not supposed to even have accidents, but during our time, and I'm glad, I'm happy that I drove train without a single incident or accident, because it was the time when the infrastructure was good, but now we're having a lot of, manual authorities that are actually given, and there's more human interface and interaction, and there are mistakes that happen there and there, although things are being fixed now with the new trains and new technology and all of those things. But the experience in itself, it's a very, very, it's a good experience. It's the type of an experience you will really, really appreciate, because you are on the ground, but you are on top of the steel. You don't have a steering wheel. You don't turn to the left, to the right, but there's somebody who's sitting at a place called train control office, who are responsible for turning the rail to the direction in which the train is supposed to be going. But that is the experience. If I have to talk a lot, we might end up talking about that aspect, but that's the experience that you have.
No, it's typical of you as a trainer. Because you've done a training, assessment, and moderation, I must be honest, give it in details. But let's just now take a commercial break. And I would love to take this time and appreciate all our viewers on Bold Moves Radio, YouTube, and also on Facebook. Thank you so very much. We're talking to our guest, Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. And this man, he's Mr. Everything. I must be honest with you. But his passion for education and being an author, training, these are some of the things that really make him stands out. And we're just happy that you are with us, and we trust that we're going to have a great time. And please, you are free to also contact us if you have some comments, if you have some questions. Also, you are welcome to do so on our Facebook page or on our YouTube. And we just appreciate you for doing that. But let us now take a commercial break. When we come back, we want to zoom in to something that is so interesting again about Mr. Stan, and that is he's also an entrepreneur, and he's a director of Mulambo Consulting, and would love to know what does the consulting business does, and what are the opportunities that are there, more especially for young people. You will agree the joblessness, but it's people like him who are a solution to that effect. But now we're taking this commercial break.
24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Vito ndzi kula ni Selby Ngomane. Ndzi tshama na Mrs. Stan kwala a Joni. Hi huma Limpopo swin'we. Mara etindhawini to hambanahambana. So Mrs. Stan I munhu wa kahle swinene ku hanya na vona. Ku va ndzi tivana na vona, there's a lot leswi ni nga se ni swi dyondzini aka vona. I munhu wa mbilu ya kahle wo rhandza vanhu, wo rhandza vanghana, I munhu wo rhandza na family. Mrs. Stan va rhandza family. And then leswi ni swi tivaka ngopfu hi vona i munhu un'wana wa ku is a good listener. Va yingisela Mrs. Stan va tlhava ku byela ku ku na point yin'wana I nga yi vula loko I heta statement xa wena ku na point yin'wana I nga yi vula va vula point I nga yi vula ene yeleyo i ndlela yin'wana kombisaka ku I have been listening to you va ta ku byela ku twa so I ta kota ku understand ku va kha va ku yingiserini. Mrs. Stan va kota ku va va pfuna loko munhu a va kumbexana a va na ti-challenges leti ti lava ku va ti pfuniwa hi miehleketo. Mrs. Stan va swi kota ku ta ku na loko kumbexana kumbe munhu ku va ku ri ku na swin'wana leswi swi nga va swi lavaka ku a va pfuna hi swona nkarhi wun'wana na va kombela Mrs. Stan lexi loko ku vuya mani entirhweni ni khomelete kini ni kombela ku mi ni tekela vana kumbe mi Mrs. Stan without any complaint. He is a brother, he is a father, va everything ka mina Mrs. Stan. So ni twa ni kha ni tinyungubyisa swinene hikuva ni kha ni va tivini ku va ni kha ni va ni tshama ndhawu yin'we kusuhana na vona. A hi na more than 5 years hi kha hi tivana mara the way swi endlisaka swona ingaku se hi hundzini na 5 years ni nga comfortable hi swona na swona ku ri ni twa ku ri munhu loyi ni nga phefumulaka na phele mbilwini aka vona loko ni va na ti-challenges to karhi kumbe ni lava ti-advices to karhi ni feel comfortable ku nga vulavula na vona. Mrs. Stan ha tinyungubyisa ku va hi tivana na n'wina. Ha khensa nge xikombiso na masiku yo hanya na wisdom ya n'wina yi tlakuka ya mahlweni. Mi ya mahlweni na ku va mi rhandza na ku va mi kha mi tlhela mi encourage na hina ku hi tsakela swa tidyondzo. Ndza khensa.
Streaming 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Boldly breaking barriers and limitations.
You're listening to Bold Moves Radio, and the program is Minkondzo, The Legacy. And I'm your host, Pastor Strike, and my guest is Mr. Stan Mulaudzi, and we are journeying together. Mr. Mulaudzi, you heard what Mr. Ngomane said, and what comes to mind when you hear him talking. And I love the background of the birds, it shows and I heard one of the bass that it's long. I've never heard that bass. Wow, but it's so beautiful. What comes to mind when you hear Mr. Ngomane speaking?
I think the first thing that one has to be appreciative of is to know that in life you are not surrounded with idiots. Everybody you meet becomes somehow your friend. They become your superior because you learn of them and about them. And the interesting thing about what he just said now was that it feels as though we grew up together, and it is true because we met and we gel. I don't know if this is the right word to use to say we gelled, but we gelled very well because we also believe that mutu ndi mutu ngabangwe. I think as much as he said from me, I'm also learning quite a lot from him as well, and about him as well, and it's pleasant surprise that you hear somebody talking about you in that manner.
Mm.
It feels that you're getting your flowers whilst you actually still alive, and people are seeing your work. So it talks to one issue that whatever it is that you do in life, you might think that people are not seeing, but it is being noticed. But the one good thing that I feel when I'm hearing what he was saying, it's simple that hard work pays, and everything can be noticed.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Yeah. And let's look at Mulambo Consulting. What is the company or the consultancy about, and what business opportunities are there, more especially for young people? I love people like yourself who are part of the solution, because we cannot keep on singing the song while we are there, and sometimes I joke and say we have to be creating jobs. If I cannot create, why not retire and leave that job and let somebody get the job?
Yeah.
At least I get a job. I just arrived to China like this, man. I just retire and let the young people get the job and work, or at least do something that creates jobs. The experience that we have, the exposure that we have, it talks of a wealth of information. We become wonderful libraries, and we can help our young people. I think it's very important for us to really be vigilant and ask ourselves, what is it that I'm doing to help a young person? And zwine ndinokhozviita zvine zvatomuthusa kuti mwana achipedza either una kubindu kwawe or ukowana mushumo. But let's talk about your consultants.
Yeah, but thank you as well for those beautiful words, and also for the realization that you need to be the catalyst, or you need to be the difference that you want to see in the world. And those words, by just saying those words, you might not know who you're encouraging. To say, let me do something that will help another person in this life. And I also believe in an issue of paying forward what you have received. Now, coming to Mulambo Training and Consulting, it was, it has been conceived by the idea that as people, we can be able to get into a space and close some of the gaps that are there in this world. One is that you don't want people to die because of lack of knowledge. So what is it that you want to do? You need to impart the knowledge that you have, because when one learns, you don't learn to just stay and be stagnant. So you learn to teach, because the one that teaches learns, and the one that learns teaches as well. Now, the reason why we have Mulambo Training and Consulting, we wanted to train, but we also wanted to consult in terms of making sure that companies that want to do stuff that they don't know, that's where we come in and let them understand how they are supposed to optimize their business, to make sure that their business is actually doing what they set out to do. So because we are outside of the company, we don't know the vicissitude or the the twists and turns and the challenges that they have. So we have a very good eye and clear indication of what is actually going on there, so that we can then be able to assist. But when it comes to young people, I actually love to provide young people with knowledge. Now, at Mulambo Training and Consulting, we're doing quite a number of things. Last year and last year, we had a program called a candidacy program from MICT SATA, where we have offered internship to upcoming journalist students with level 6 qualification. By level 6 qualification, we're talking about diplomas, and also level 7, which is a degree in journalism and media studies. So what did we do? We gave them an experience in terms of actually writing articles, interviewing people, and also be able to write. And by writing, we're not just saying you are going to write a letter that somebody is going to read and be mesmerized by it. But what you're going to write is something that people are going to read and then begin to understand the story that you are actually telling. Because when you went to school to study journalism, one, you wanted to tell stories, you wanted to report, and you also wanted to do quite a number of things. You might want to be a presenter at a radio station. And I'm sure from where you are, Pastor Strike, you might find that you didn't go to school for 3 years to become a presenter. And by the way, I must mention that you are very good at your job. So we want those young people to be like you, and even be better than you.
Yes.
So we actually took them under our wings, and we showed them the ropes. And then by the end of the internship, we also give them the opportunity, because we always tell them that those that do well, we are going to subsume you or absorb you into our organization, so that you become a member, because we also want to combat unemployment. Because I mean, if you look at the rate of unemployment in South Africa, you will be appalled by the statistic. So we wanted to actually contribute that. So we had more than 20 learners that we actually had trained, and some of them went on to get jobs elsewhere. And now we are currently also in looking for learners, because remember we were doing level 6 and level 7 last year, but this year specifically we're looking for those that are coming from NATED qualification or the N qualification, those who have N6 from IT, and also who have a database design administration, and also radio production. So we are saying, come to us, we've got a space for you, so that you can then be able to learn the practical way of doing your job. And we also want to initiate you into a workplace environment so that you gain experience. In most cases, when you apply for a job, you'll be told that you don't have experience. So we are saying at Mulam Training and Consulting, we are in fact positioned to be able to make your dreams come true.
That's beautiful. And one thing that I also am passionate about, of course, is exactly that, making sure that we're helping young people. And I have had also opportunities of talking to young people who are placed in different departments. They will be having mentors, it's mentors and mentees. And some of the things that concerned me was how young people would behave themselves while in those opportunities. As like, sometimes it's like they are working hard to close doors. And I would say to them, you know what? You've been given an opportunity to impress. You have been given an opportunity to learn. You have been given an opportunity to be mentored. Don't act like you've got it or you have arrived, because you will miss out a lot of things. And you have been given an opportunity also to interact with people. You don't know the people you interact with. They might be your postal employers or desired dreams. But if with that, because that concerned me, I remember having adopted one school, there was an intern in that school. So I spoke to the circuit manager and said, look, I want this and this and that, because we must be checking on the circuit's performance so that we're able to tailor make some intervention programs to help you guys. And he called, in fact, he said, oh, where I am, I'm not very okay, but call this lady at my office. And I called her and I said, Ceci, the second manager says, if you could please give me. She said, Nende kochai sanne. Just like that. And I thought, my God, what? So what are some of the challenges which then you would love to advise young people who have opportunities of internships, placements and things like that, because that's what you are doing. What behavior, good behavior, some behavior that needs to be refined, some things that needs to be shared with our children so that they are able to position themselves well and they're able to take advantage of the opportunity given.
In fact, they should know that they are employed for their qualification. But in most cases, they will be dismissed for their attitude. because
Yes.
because it is very good to display a very good attitude, and behavior where you are actually working. And they should also be able to know and understand that when it comes to work environment, each and every action that they are taking is noticed. It is noticeable. And people can then be able to see how they behave, what sort of people and personalities they actually have. Now, the challenge is the biggest challenge that you have. You will find a young people who's actually very, very, very arrogant to a point where they come to you as if they know everything. Me and you, when we went to school, the method that was used was that of an empty vessel or a jug and mug, where we were a mug, the teacher is a jug with information pouring into our heads. And young people these days, they don't realize that we were also there. I was not born as a director of a company. I started from the beginning, and I've seen things through, and I've seen people that fell on the wayside, and I know the reason why they actually fell on the wayside. So one of the most important thing is to actually be able to listen and have the willingness to learn, and you show that even if you've got the skill, but you also have the zeal to work and be able to be counted. And one of the most important things to avoid is group think, because you can add an environment as an individual, and at that particular time that you are in the environment, look at a job as a glue that puts your life together. And if you want to start scratching that glue so that it detach, then it means you are actually detaching your life. And the bad thing about it is that in South Africa, you will also need testimonial, especially if you are coming from an internship program. They will want to ask what sort of a learner this person is. As much as we don't want to give a bad feedback, but we must also be honest to say, watch out for 1, 2, and 3 from this person. I mean, there are some of the learners that I know, when you are trying to teach them something, they are in turn trying to teach you something and forgetting that they want to teach you how to run your business in your business, which becomes a bit of a challenge. And I also believe that I don't know anything and I can learn from a young person. But a young person should give me enough audience to tell them how we do business, because the reason why they are sitting where they are sitting, it is because they don't have their own business that they can run the way they want to run. So the best thing is to be able to listen. In fact, there is a saying in Chivenda that says, "Mubeirwa kunekedzela thoho," you know, because arali vakazongojikisa thoho vakoveirwa vatopedza vokati wa thoho. So it is very, very important for you to be able to listen, because when you don't listen, it means you speak a lot, and when you speak a lot, you eat the fruit of what you're saying. If you look at Proverbs 18 verse 21, it talks about your life being in your tongue, which basically means that you will reap the fruits of what you are actually talking about in your life. And people forget that they are their greatest prophets. There's no other prophet that is going to prophesy your life better than you. So what you say with your tongue is what you're going to become, because we tend to gravitate towards our words. People don't know that our life actually travel in the direction of our words.
Wow, that's powerful, you know, and that takes me to the book, The Power of the Tongue. And but even before we do that, one thing that I would love also zoom in a bit is also on the a lot of teachings that you're doing also on Planet Radio and Planet Radio itself, because I know that you're not just doing the teachings, but you are also involved in it, because we really need these platforms who are able to shape the thinking, you know, of our people, and to be able also to communicate the things that we believe they are key in life. But allow me to take this short when we come have to zoom into Planet Radio and the programs that you're doing, educational programs that you're doing. But as for now, let's just take this short commercial break.
Thank you very much, Pastor Strike Mangani, for celebrating Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. I was introduced to Mr. Stan by Dr. Matebula. Mr. Stan became a member of Black Business Council Infrastructure Logistics Workstream. Through his gracious heart, I am the poemic sentimentalist of his Planet Radio. He is used by God to instill hope to South Africans and Africans like a horn sounding an alarm. He reminds us of what we can do, and warns us of bless errors sourced in laziness and no action. He is used by God to instill faith that comes through repetition, relentlessness, and perseverance. No wonder without faith there is no action. Because of it, action is faith. He is used by God to expose young and upcoming, the agents and legends in their own rights, treating all of them as soul giants of the soil. We are blessed to be facing by the obedience this servant known as Mr. Stan, the Planet Radio species, voice of the voiceless. We celebrate you, Mr. Stan. There will be no next time, for we are in the business of one time. I am Dr. Faith Tobakare Radova, the poemic sentimentalist. Stay blessed, stay safe, and bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.
You're listening to Bold Moves live on Facebook and also YouTube, and thank you very much. I'm your host, that's Pastor Strike. The program is Minkondzo, The Legacy. It talks about footprints, and my guest is Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. Dr. Faith Radova, what comes to mind when you hear Faith Radova Bachikwamba?
You know, words. And he is one of the people who's got what is called the poetic license. Now he's got words, and his name is Faith. Now you don't have a name like that if you lack faith. And he is a man of God. He does a poemic, a poet slot on my show, which is actually a reggae program at VMC Planet Radio, because I have two. One is about training and education. The other one is a reggae show. So that is where I engage with him quite a lot. And he's a very interesting person, very knowledgeable, and a poet whose poem you read them 5 times just to be able to understand exactly what you mean, but what it means. But when you read his poem again after some couple of days, you also find out that there's actually other hidden meaning. But he's a very beautiful person with a very, very beautiful soul and free-spirited type of a person. And he is a leader, who actually led by an example. He's a doctor, so he did not become a doctor because he just woke up one day and give himself a nickname. So he worked hard for it, so he got the qualification. So listening to him, I become happy. In fact, he also said things that I was not aware of myself, but I really appreciate that.
Let's talk of VMC Planet Radio and the programs that you're doing, most especially the educational programs.
Right. You see, there is strength in numbers. Now, the more, the merrier. And I'm happy, when we have these platforms where we can be able to share ideas. Now, the CEO and managing director of VMC Planet Radio spoke earlier on is Mr. Kulani Ngoma, who I'm sure is also going to have the title of becoming a doctor. I've been encouraging him a lot in that aspect. But VMC Planet Radio started 3 years back, and unfortunately we had COVID whilst we were growing. But at that time, we went as far as getting close to about 63,000 listenership on the program. So it is a platform for young people to be able to showcase their talent, for young people to also interact and share ideas. Now, we've got a variety of programs there, but the one that I presented every Thursday is called MADE, but this is how you spell it. It's MADET. It stands for Making a Difference in Education and Training. Now, why we don't say the T is so that we can sound fancy and sound as if we are sophisticated. We silence the T like the French people when they say buffet instead of buffet, so that it sounds very good in the tongue. But now the we also outline the difference between education and training, where we explain that in education we are learning to be able to know. So education becomes the pursuit of knowledge, and training becomes the pursuit of skills, which means you learn to be able to do. Now, it's one way to see and be able to recognize a piano, but if you don't have the ability to be able to play, so you don't have the competency. So you need to know and also be able to do, so that then you have education and knowledge at the same time. So what we on the program, we look for all the opportunities that are available in the world, not only in South Africa. And then we also talk about the current trends that are there in educational environment. And since I've become perhaps some kind of a proponent for online education, I can also appoint myself as an ambassador for blended learning. Is that I find it very interesting that in this life, seriously, there's a time where I feel like if I can hear a young person who says they are bored in this life, I feel like that young person deserves a very big clap that can wake them up, because you have the internet. If you have the data, you can then be able to Google how to fix a fridge. You can be able to Google how to fix a microwave or an iron, or to be able to do something. If you want to weld, you can even ask there and type, how do I learn how to weld underwater? Stuff like that. So in that program, what we're doing now, we're encouraging people not to just sit and and be stagnant about their life. So every opportunity that you have to have in this life, you're supposed to learn to be able to do something. And doing something about your life does not only mean that you're only going to affect you, but you're going to affect other people as well. So we give people, we explain the opportunities with regard to bursaries, and also explain what bursaries is and how do you apply for the bursaries, and also let them know that you see, when you do get bursaries, you will also be allowed or be given an opportunity to do community services, so that whatever it is that you learn, you actually be able, you go at it, to other people as well. So it's a very interesting program. It's very interactive. It's that is something that we will say high voltage. Not because I learned electrical engineering, but high voltage in terms of you can't just sit on it. It makes you want to do something.
Yes, that's powerful. That's powerful. My wonderful viewers, we are together. The program is called Minkondzo, The Legacy. And you can also communicate with us while on this program. And we have our WhatsApp number. And our WhatsApp number is +27 69 581 8597. It's scrolling on the screen, and you can be able to ask whatever you would love to ask. But right now, Boston, Booker T. Washington once said that what made him great were not only the books that he read, but also men and women he met along the way. Who are the influential men and women whom you met along the way that systematized your thinking? Because your thinking is not just ordinary. And we're talking about from the great province of Lipo, which is most rural, but your thinking is just something else. What are the men and women that you will say they really touched your life silently or loudly or in any way that really shapes your thinking? Because sometimes people, they touch us, but not with a physical touch, but there's something that they really instill in us.
Yeah, it's both people and also their action. And there are those that I have met and those that I have not met. But one of the very first person that comes to my mind is my father, Mr. Rexen Ntangeni Mulaudzi. He passed away in 2005. May his soul rest in peace. He taught me the power of words, and he taught me how to become humble, in spite of everything else that you see in this life, and be focused in what is it that you wanted to do and what do you want to achieve in life. And I've got a cousin who perhaps you will be very surprised when I mention his name, if he ever get to listen to this, and if he is listening. His name is Fanuel Moaba. I grew up under his tutelage. He's the one that used to when I was in secondary school, will bring Pace magazine. He was at University of Venda, and he's the one that used to bring, those newspapers when, we will read, the old news. So because he will come back on Friday, and as he come back on Friday, he will bring some of the newspapers because he knew that I actually like to read. But I was also shaped and also influenced by, the old women of the village, where I come from, by the mere fact that, they were like the heads of their families, because we grew up in places where the majority of men from those villages were working in Johannesburg, and they were taking care of their families and ensuring that everything is fine. So their their husbands will send money back home and say to them, you need to build this, you need to do this, and they will go a mile to make sure that the house and everything else is at the shape in which when they come back, it is very, very palatable, to be. So I will mention all those grandmothers and grandfathers, but there's also somebody who actually shaped my thinking in terms of seeing the world differently, and like what Mr. Ngoman had just mentioned earlier on about me. I can also mention this about Dr. Mabila Matebula. I also met Dr. Mabila Matebula not so long ago, but it feels like I have known Dr. Mabila Matebula for years and years and years, by the amount of interaction that we actually, had. So he was one of those people that when I was saying, look, I think this thing of completing my dissertation and sending it to a supervisor, and when it comes back, it is crushed to a point where you feel like whatever it is that you have written, it's like you've just wasted like let's say the whole 30 nights where you were not sleeping, and only to be told that your job is substandard and all of those things. Who then said to me, look, these are the challenges of life, and this is one step that if you can be able to overcome, you are actually going to look back and be very, very proud of. And to be honest with you, it happened, and I'm very, very, very proud that I met him. I think if it was not for him, I would not have finished my dissertation at the time in which I actually had finished. And there are other people that I cannot mention as well, because I like to mention a person and then also elaborate why I'm mentioning that person, because you see but I will let me just perhaps mention maybe two people. I will have to mention Mr. Ngomane. I like the word that he actually used. I haven't heard that word in a long time. So I want to say the feeling is mutual. I feel the same thing as well. In terms of business, is one of those people that actually held my hand to say, in this aspect, you are coming from the corporate environment. This is basically what you have been doing, but here in the private, we actually do it like this. So basically, those are some of the people. But I also have to mention Mr. Pastor Newell Kliwayo as well. There's quite a number of things that I actually learn, especially if you want to prove a point in life. There's a very big book that you have to go into and be able to search or do soul searching through it.
Mm.
So those are the other two people, but there are a whole lot of other people that I can also mention as well. But I think it will be remiss of me if I don't mention, books, and I don't mention music as well, because music has always been part of my life as well, to a point where I even own recording studios where I also record people, where I actually learned to do the production and the engineering without having to go to school, but it's something that is self-taught.
Wow, that's awesome. That's powerful. And my wonderful listeners and viewers, the program is Minkondzo, the Legacy, and I have my guest tonight, and that is Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. And I'm your host, Pastor Strike, and you're listening to Bold Moves Radio. Thank you so very much. Mr. Mulaudzi, you are now holding a very senior position. Prasa, briefly tell us about your job, and as well as the importance or the important role of railways to society.
Railway plays one of the major roles that I see these days. It has been undermined by quite a number of things, sabotage that we see in our environment, the infrastructure that is ailing, and people who don't realize that the impact that the railway has in the economy of the country is so huge that if we are serious about it, I'm very sure that the GDP of the country will be much better than what it is now. And and I mean, if you look at it, from its inception up until maybe very not so long ago, I mean, people used to take trips to go to areas, or sometimes just take trips just to go on a train to either Cape Town, to Bait Bridge, Eastern Cape, and all of those. And it used to carry a lot of freights and goods, and it used to transport coal as well. So we never had problems with electricity and all of those things. But the importance perhaps of management or operational management in any organization is to be able to run the operation of the environment, meaning that you become sort of an engine that is very well oiled and geared to actually make sure that the organization itself function to its optimal. So that is basically what I think the role of an operational manager, from wherever they are sitting, is that of a strategic position where you come up with ideas, you provide guidance, principles, you also provide processes and procedures in the work environment that are actually bespoke or to be able to improve the welfare of the environment that you find yourself in.
Beautiful. My viewers and listeners, now about 10 minutes after 7, and the program is running until 7:30. That is 19 hours. 30, and we Moves Radio, the program Minkondzo, the Legacy. My guest then Mulaudzi, and we're learning a lot from this man. His passion, his love, his view of life, his way of thinking, and his way of multitasking. I'm telling you, we talk about this. It's like it's not the same guest. We talk about this. It's like it's not the same guest, because in every man. Stand the man do I have, because I can talk to you, Stan the author, I can talk to Stan the academic, I can talk to Stan the technical, my God. But now let's just hear what somebody has to say about our guest.
Hi Stan, it's Ifeli Emmanuel Mawata, and my relationship with you dates back from 2002 when I joined Metro Rail as a train driver from Spoornet. Stan, you are so many things to me, and the two outstanding persona, which is being who you are in good and bad times, and also having compassion in God's people. So everyone you meet, you serve God through who you are. My message to you while we're celebrating Minkondzo, it's simple, spelled like this: VUCA, volatile, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Then you got a vision, you are understanding, you clarify, and you got agility. Keep being who you are, and let's change the world once at a time. We thank you for your life.
This is
Bold Moves Radio.
streaming 24/7.
24/7. Boldly breaking barriers and limitations.
Yes, but then, like I just said, why I feel it's just, you know. But when you hear what I feel, Tinghwazi speaking, what comes to mind?
I'm not sure if he's listening. I used to always say, Uri Mangwatani Apenga, each time we speak about quite a number of issues, and he's the type that believes that, straight talk does not break any friendship, and and with his straight talk, he actually, I think, broke and made quite a number of friends,
Yeah.
but a very, very interesting person, level-headed and free-spirited type of person, who I regard as a brother, somebody that if you need any advice about anything, he will give you his advices wholeheartedly. So it's one of those very interesting people with a very interesting personality that is pleasant to be around.
Now let us talk to Mr. Sten, the author, and talking about the power of the tongue. What motivated you to write this book, and what lessons can people draw from the book itself?
I had to ask myself a question, and I have to respond to that question as well. And I remember, as a young person, I was once told that there's nothing wrong about talking to yourself, but the moment you respond to yourself, it means something went crazy in your head, or the brain has gone bananas. But then I had to respond to the question to say, what are some of the things that make a very big impact in our life? And one of those is the words that we speak. Now, you will see in the book, also in the introduction, I was explaining the fact that I had to write the book because there's something that had always been bothering me in terms of where do we go as people, and where do we actually see ourselves, and what are the things that will make us grow as people and get to an area where all of us are able to actually live well. Then I realized that when there's World War I, it was started by words. World War II started by words. Conflicts that we have, we resolve them by words, and they are started by words. And you also find people who say, so in most cases, then you realize that then for us to be able to not have misunderstanding in this world, it means that words actually have power. And what is it that we talk about in our daily life? Then I realized that one of the areas that we lack is that you will find young people They will be talking about clothes, they will be talking about drinking beer and smoking dacha and all of those things, but without talking about how do we generally improve each other's life. Now coming out of what you will be talking about with other people, but there's also an issue of you talking to yourself. So there's a chapter in the book about self-talk, which is actually very, very critical in your life. And what are some of the self-talks that you give to yourself? What do you say? What do you say to yourself? Now, do you say, or do you use words that condemn you, or do you use words that galvanize you to be able to forge ahead and be able to succeed in life? Because some of the people, they were able to succeed in this life because they have spoken into their life, and what they have spoken into their life, came to pass. So you find one person that says, I want to become a teacher. And then they become a teacher because they have spoken to themselves and say, this is what I want to become. But if somebody says, I am very bad at mathematics, now they are actually prophesying that they will never be good at that particular point. Now, the reason why the book was written was to actually respond to those questions, to say, how do you succeed without words? And the question that I often ask, or something that I always say, when I speak to people, I say, you can choose. You can be all on your own and get a piece of paper and write in that piece of paper and say, I am a star. And you don't say anything. You don't read it loud. You just look at it and you read it back to yourself. And when you read it back to yourself and you just see the words, do you not hear your words when you say, I am a star? So you hear the words, but without you verbalizing them or without talking. So you are actually talking. And then when you read those words that say, I am a star, so basically you become a star. So that is the reason why the book was written, to be able to challenge ourselves to speak well about ourselves and about the future, and also be futuristic.
Wow, that's powerful. I've realized that we believe more what we say about ourselves than what other people say about ourselves. That's why if you think Ndobipa Chote, no matter what people say, they may say, hey man, you look great. You think, no. They are just bluffing you because you believe more what you say. So self-talk, very critical and very important. And I think we fail even before we start because of what we say to ourselves. Maybe my mouth and my ears are very close. I hear myself more, and I hear myself more, and I better talk to myself, do self-talk and a positive self-talk, But negative self-talk can just destroy me. And in fact, I think it even makes you vulnerable to whatever negative talk that can come from outside. Already you are weak, when they say, you will not amount to anything, say, yeah,
yes, exactly, yes.
But that's powerful. And there's a lot that we can talk about. But your other book, which is currently being reviewed, How to Overcome Life Stop Signs and Still Succeed in Life. Just briefly tell us about this book before we wrap up and let you rest. Because it's strong about it. That means we cannot finish you because you've got a lot to share. So what can you tell us about this book, How to Overcome Life Stop Signs and Still Succeed in Life? Hey, life stop signs, there are many of them. How can you overcome them? Share briefly with us about this book.
In fact, there's a song by Bob Marley that says, I don't know the name, I can't remember the name of the song off my head, but it's got words that says, life is like a big road with lots of signs. Now, basically, when you travel this road, this is what you're going to come across. You're going to come across issues of attitude. You're going to come across issues of self-knowledge. You're going to come across issues of social approval. And then you're also going to come across issues of focus and also issues of making decisions and also resilience. So I'm just giving you briefly some of the topics that I am actually discussing there, because you see, when you look at attitude, the attitude that people display in their life gives you, the idea as to what is it that is actually inside that particular person. There was once, a man that once said this to me, who said that, given a choice, a person has given a choice of two things, and on the other hand, this person has been given a cake, and on the other hand, this person, there's an excretion there. I just want to use that word carefully. And they say choose, but you will find this other person will not go for a cake because they don't see anything sweet with that particular cake. But with this other brown stuff, they start to see things that seem to be very, very attractive. There was a man that once told a very, very interesting story about hell and heaven. And the story about hell, when things are being canvassed, they look nice and bright, but the reality might actually look dull. But people forget to see that that is actually the life, that we are going to go. So now, overcoming life, stop signs. It basically means that at each and every intersection of your life, you then have to be able to make a decision. And what are the decisions that we are making about our life? One is, do I want to live my life and be arrogant and act as if I am a person that knows it all and don't listen to other people's advices? Am I that type of a person who is going to take things as they are and not be able to make a decision and say problems are part of our life? Or am I going to be able to focus on what I want to be able to achieve with regard to life? Because people lack the zeal to be able to start and to do something about their life. So what we're saying, what I'm saying there is that whatever it is that it bends you, you need to be able to make a decision about it. Either you put down the fire or you move from where the fire is, so that you preserve your life.
Wow, that's awesome. It's about 26 minutes after 7, and 7:30 we're closing this show. But I must be honest with you, there's still a lot that we could be talking about with Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. And but you'll realize that we spoke a lot of things. But this man is a family man. He's a husband. He's a father. And I'm asking myself, how is he balancing all this with the consulting company, with the radio programs, his work at Prasa, being an author? And I would love to hear from him how he balances all that and still be the father, still be the husband, still be, the uncle, and all that, which is very important in relationships. But allow me to take this short break, and when we come back, we'll close by just zooming in and hearing from Mr. Stan how he brings balance when it comes to work, family, and all these very valuable relationships. Let's take this.
My name is Munyariwa. I am a sister-in-law to Mr. Mulaudzi. I've known Mr. Mulaudzi since I think I was 5 years old. Yeah, sure, that long. All I know about Mr. Mulaudzi is that he is very, very kind. He shows the same kindness and love to everyone he meets. What touches me the most is when my mother was very, very sick. It was during lockdown. He and his wife and the children really took care of my mother. She came out of it saying she has never experienced such kindness in her entire life. And it's the same sentiment that I share. Mr. Mulaudzi is that kind. And he is very welcoming. You don't go to his house and feel like, oh my God, what am I doing here? No, you feel very welcome. He treats everybody the same way. Today, I just want to say to him, thank you so much. Thank you for taking care of my sister. Thank you for being a good brother-in-law. Thank you for bringing love, unconditional love to our family, and for the music too. God bless you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Streaming 24/7. 24/7. Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Hi everyone, my name is Mulaudzi and I am Stanley Mulaudzi's daughter. I am very honored to have a father like him. He is the best and most supportive person that I've ever met in my life. Very gentle and caring, and he's always been there for me through happy, sad, and I've learned a lot of things from him and his personality. I wish everybody could have a father like him because the world would be a better place. And to a lot of people, and a lot of people just said he was their father, and I am very happy and honored to have a father like him.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Hi, my name is Khazani. I'm Miss Mulaudzi. If I have to say a thing or two about my husband, I have to say that we've been together for more than 30 years. The love has just been strong. We have never even break up just once, and we went to primary school together. We went to secondary school together, and then now 30 years later, we're still here. And I was pregnant by him at 16 years old. This guy, he stood by me, and on those difficult times, and I always knew that we are going to be together. By the way, I don't call him baby or my love. I call him by his name, Bonin. And every time when I call that name, my heart just melts. You'll never understand the feeling. I love him. I love that name. And he's the best husband ever. He really does take care of the business. And from the start, he used to call himself Stan the Man because I guess he understood the definition how to be a man. He is truly a man. And as a father, he's the best. He's the best. He loves his children. And then he's always making sure that we're okay. And then he makes sure that we have a roof over our heads. And I know that if I call him, he is always there. And this is the guy that stands by his words. And I love him for that. I'm very, very emotional when I say this because, yeah, I think if I was not married to him, unfortunately, I was going to be his makwapeni, because I didn't see myself with any other person. That's how I see this man. He loves me. This man really, really does love me.
Pastor Strike, I can't hear you anymore. I'm not sure if we got cut. Pastor Strike, I'm not sure if perhaps the challenge is from your side. I still can be able to see myself move and talk. So I'm not sure if the challenge is from my side, but I will, perhaps I just need to wait a little bit and see what I don't know what's happening.
And I'm so excited that I think now we're back online. Was then you had, when the family was talking here, my question of how do you juggle between all this and make it happen? It was almost answered, but I want to hear from you how you go about making sure that all this that we know and that we hear about you. What can you say? You had your daughter, you had your sister, and Mama talking there. What can you say to them tonight?
Yeah. In fact, it's overwhelming to start off. And I'm glad that when you do things without doing them to be recognized, when you hear about them, they always land well, and they melt your heart. But what I can tell you, Pastor Strike, is that even the Bible says it that he who finds a good wife finds a good thing. And Zokuma Zori, in this life, I feel very, very blessed that I think the Bible was actually talking about me. That's why I'm able to do those few things that I can be able to do without having to have a stress, without having to explain, and be in court to, be judged as to why are you doing what you're doing. Because I think love in itself, it starts from within and then it spills over to other people as well. And if you're able to love yourself, you will then be able to love other people even much better because you understand other people's feelings and other people's pain. I'm just very overwhelmed by the fact that I don't know what conspiracy that Pastor Strike cooked, but how you managed to get all of those people, you see, is still a mystery to me, because none of these people told me that they were contacted, and I'm actually very, 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 very surprised. When you think people are going to be surprised, and then you are the one that is surprised. It's very, very interesting. But to be honest with you, I am able to do what I'm able to do because I am in a very good space in my life. I've got a very loving home, loving wife, and good children, and all of those things. And sometimes whatever we do, I think as parents, we never do them perhaps to be given flowers and get accolades and be praised. But one, we do them because we love our kids. But two, it is the role that we need to enact in ourselves because God has given us those people in our lives. And when we look into their eyes, we then know that God's promise has been fulfilled. So I think it is one of those things that make us live our life and enjoy our life, because when you take care of yourself in this life, you will then be able to take care of other people. Because the important thing that we tend to forget as people is that we only have one life to live, and you're not going to come back. You're not going to come back and make corrections. So it is better. It is better to live your life as thou you are living, it for the last time, which basically means that every human being that you meet in your way, it is always better to show kindness, because you will never walk that path again. And if you are misunderstood once, there's not going to be a way in which you are going to go back and correct that misunderstanding. Because often in our life, you will find that the best answers to any question that you are given is when the opportunity to answer that question is already left. So making sure that you will then be able to live your life to the fullest and be happy with the with the decisions that we are taking in life. I think it is actually the best thing, Pastor Strike.
A lot. Mr. Mulaudzi, thank you so very much. You know, the once the load shedding kicks in, it has got a way of disturbing the towers and always temper with our connectivity. But I must say thank you so very much, Baba. Thanks for coming through. You have really empowered us with your story, and we have had an opportunity to celebrate you. And that is why I would love to say from Bold Moves Radio, the program Minkondzo, the legacy. Thank you so very much for your life story with us, and we would love to say, please may you smell your flowers while you can still smell them. And it was from us and from everybody else. The conspiracy was nothing else but about celebrating you and telling you that because we want to eat, you know, we don't want to be talking in tears and say, this man, we wanted to just say it while you can hear it. And I just want to say thank you so very much also for giving us this time just to celebrate your life. And I want to take this time and appreciate our executive producer, Pastor Joylene, and my producer, Mr. Mavila Matibula, and my technical producer, DJ Messi. Thank you so very much for making this program possible. And of course, my guest, Mr. Stan Mulaudzi. Roli wanga manda baba na machelo ngauri ndi zvinji zve baba nazo limwe ḓuvha ri ḓo vha humbela ra to amba nga zwiṅwe fhedzi ra si zwi pute zwoṱhe kha saga nthihi, because we can see that there is a lot to share. But we just want to say thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Maybe a few words you say bye to our viewers and our listeners.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate the opportunity. It is wonderful. It's not every day that one is given a chance and be celebrated as well. I really appreciate it. I wish you love, light, and peace. And to everybody else that is actually listening, I'm saying, take care of yourself, take care of people that are around you, and don't forget to love yourself.
Thank you so very much, all of you, my viewers and listeners. Thank you so very much, and the Lord bless you. Have yourself a great evening, and We're meeting next week on the program Minkondzo, The Legacy, same time. That is 6 o'clock until 7:30. And of course, remember, tomorrow we've got Prudent Woman at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And on Tuesday, the African Experience, with a pair with a story. And Thursday, Love SA. So, beloved, thank you so very much from me and the team. A blessed evening to you all.